Hey guys, it's olivershutterspeed here again with another tutorial. And a couple of months ago I did a photo shoot with Annika, and back in the days when we shot I didn't do a tutorial on how I edit my portraits, and the last couple of weeks I was teaching myself camera raw, and I wanted to do this video because we did some portraits and I also wanted to show you how I edit them. And yeah, I hope you enjoy this video. Make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel to always be up to date, and of course ring the bell so you get notified. So basically we did this portrait in front of the university, and I asked Annika if she can sit on the ground, and as you can see here I was using the a6000 and the 85mm 1.8 from Sony. And the first thing I always do is when I look at this portrait is first of all see is the temperature right and the tint. So I feel like we have a bit of a green tint in here. So we're going to add a bit more magenta to the portrait, just a bit, because if you go too crazy, it looks a bit unnatural. And for exposure, what I always do, so up here we have our histogram, here we have our blacks, here we have our shadows, midtones, highlights and whites. So we have to see, like, if we for example clip these two points here, we can see if we have blacks or whites clipped. And so far we're looking pretty good. But we're also just going to add a bit of exposure just to make the image brighter. We're going to add a bit of contrast, because if we add too much contrast that looks a bit unnatural, but we still want a bit that contrasty look because yeah, it just looks more visible, interesting for the eyes. And we're also going to add a bit of highlights. So every time we change these sliders, we're also going to see up here a change. We're going to, instead of using the contrast, we're going to lower a bit the blacks and going to raise the whites. And for texture, clarity and dehaze, so basically it's a way to more sharpen your image, and we're going to add a bit of clarity, so you can already see a difference here in the portrait. And for vibrance and saturation, what I always do is first of all, if you're like doing portraits, I recommend that you use vibrance instead of saturation, or you can also say use vibrance first, because the vibrance doesn't go too crazy on the skin tone. So we're going to add a bit of vibrance, because if we're going to add saturation, it's like too intense on the colors. So we're going to add a bit of vibrance, and that's about it. So here we can already see a before and after. And with the curves, so we can go on luminance, and then we're going to, this is what I like to do, is I'm going to raise a bit the blacks, and we're going to make a little S-curve here. So this is before and this is after. And now we go back to the curves. We're also going to add a bit of highlights, just a bit. And I'm also going to lower a bit the highlights and the whites, just a bit. So yeah, that looks pretty fine with me. And next we're going to go on detail. Here we have noise reduction, and noise reduction is basically, as you can see here, we have a bit of noise here. It's totally normal to have like noise in your camera in the portraits, and we can counter that by adding a bit of noise reduction here. So we're going to go to around 50, and here you can see before and after, so we have less noise here. And color mixer is our next selection where we're going to go. Color mixer is basically, you have hue, saturation and luminance, and you can make like changes in the colors. And here you can see the grass is too green in my opinion. So what we can do is go to saturation, and we're going to desaturate the grass. And we're also going to desaturate a bit the yellow. So here we can already see a difference down here. And we can also desaturate a bit the oranges, because I feel like there's a bit too much saturation in the face. So we're going to do that to around -15. And yeah, that's fine with me so far. Let's see a before and after. I'm still learning, guys, so if you have any tips, let me know. I like this part here in the background, which is a bit magenta purple. So we're going to add a bit of saturation in the purple areas. And on hue, I don't really change bits here, but what we can do is we can go to effects, and here we have vignette. And vignette is basically, you can make a white vignette or a black vignette. And calibration here is really cool stuff. So basically we can create like an orange teal effect, or we can do some crazy things with our colors. So if we, for example, lower the hue here we can also make a bit of changes to the portrait. So now it's turning a bit green again with a bit of gray. Pretty funny what you can do here. You can also raise the hue here, so make some big changes. So yeah, this is the basic settings I do. So before and after. Let me know what you think so far. And next we can also go here on crop. This area is very important if you want to, for example, use your portraits for Instagram. You can, for example, change the aspect ratio here to 4:5. So we can like do this one for Instagram. So we can press enter. And now we have our crop here. And you can also see, for example, in the face, we can still like edit, for example, the eyes that they pop more out. And here we have our adjustment brush. And basically this brush is a very cool thing you can do in Camera Raw. You can, for example, hover over the eyes and nothing happens at the moment. But in a second you can see a change here. So now we activated our mask option. And in this area we can, for example, by deselecting that again, we can, for example, add exposure, we can add clarity, contrast. So what we're going to do is we're going to go closer and we're going to add a bit of texture. So the eyes are a bit more sharper and a bit of exposure so they pop a bit more out. Yeah, that is a little thing I always do. So before and after. So yeah, here a little change. So next, because we deselected this adjustment brush, we can do a new one by pressing here on a new one. And what I do then is I make sure I reset the local corrections, because then they're all back to 0, because otherwise you would do the same with the same brush and we don't want to do that. So next we're going to add a bit of smoothness to the skin. And what I do here is there are two techniques by lowering a bit the clarity. And then we can activate our mask option here. So we see like, oh, okay, this looks a bit funny, guys, but don't worry. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go over the skin and we're going to smooth out the skin. And we activated this mask option so we know exactly where we hovered over. So let's do that. And it just takes a little while. And yeah, I'm just going to do it very quickly so you can see how I do it. So here you can see now we selected the whole skin. And the next step, what we do is we're going to deselect the mask options. And now we can use the slider in clarity and we can go to the right. So now it's very sharp, but we want to do the slider to the left so we have more smoothness in the skin. So this is how I edit my portraits. And here you can also see a before and after. There's also a shortcut. You can press on P and here you see before and after. On here you also have cycles. So you can, like, for example, see the before on the left and the after on the right. So many different options. For example, here it's split, so on the left you see the before and on the right the after. Also this option and this one. This is also a slider. So up on the top you see the before and on the ground the after. So yeah guys, I hope you enjoyed this video and I also hope these tips helped you. And if you want to see more content like this, you can of course subscribe to my YouTube channel. More content will come soon, more Photoshop tutorials and photoshoot behind the scenes. And again, huge thank you also to Annika for being the model. We plan to also photoshoot again, so there will be also more content coming with Annika. And guys, thank you again so much. Take care of yourself and see you next time. Bye.